The Selvage Jeans Sewing Tutorial. This is a slow version, part 2, the fly zip. Look for the link to the fast version. So to making up, we need to stop curve stretching. I'm going to stay stitch the top of the pocket and the waistline seam back and front, stitching just inside the seam allowance. That's now done. We can get on with the fly zip. Mark the centre line from notch to dot. Cut off the left fly extension, leaving the seam allowance. Remove the seam allowance from one of the pieces of interfacing. The two pieces are identical, not a matched pair, don't forget. Place the cut edge along the centre front line. The other piece goes on the right fly extension. Press both pieces of interfacing in place. Turn the left front over. Place the fly extension in position, matching up the edges. Pin and baste. You're probably thinking, why cut off the fly extension only to sew it back on? Having a seam rather than a fold gives a much firmer edge. Accuracy is important here, and a seam guide on your foot is a great asset. Press this seam towards the facing. I have trimmed this seam down to the dot. Now for the zip. Check you have the right size. The end must be well clear of the dot. The zip goes face down. This is the centre front between the notch and the dot. We need to mark a line a little under 1 inch, 2.25 centimetres away. We will be placing the zip face down. When stitched and turned back, the zip will be about 1/2 inch, 1.25 centimetres from the centre front. I'm using a zipper foot with the needle to the right. Keep the tape lined up to the chalk line. This initial row of stitching secures the zip in place. I sew in all my zips this way. Stop with needle down and slide the zip pull past the needle. Continue to the end of the tape and secure with a back stitch. Move the needle to the left and machine a second row close to the teeth. Opening the zip makes it easier. Again, with the needle down, lift the foot and slide the zip pull back to continue. Secure the stitching as before with back stitch. This is how it will look with the fly extension turned back. Place the two fronts exactly on top of each other. The zip will naturally fall into place. The zip should fit pretty much centrally between the two facing extensions. Use a couple of pins to secure. We will be stitching from the bottom up. So needle to the right. Keep the tape straight. Again, slide along the zip pull. Continue to the end. This is my own well-researched method for sewing a fly zip. Use it for all your garments that have a fly zip. It never fails and is easier than all the methods I have seen online. Again, with needle to the left, stitch the second row close to the teeth. I don't show factory methods of sewing. I have been sewing clothes for myself since I was a teenager. For business, I have used sample makers in the past. These days, for my website, I make up my own samples, but like you, I'm basically a home sewer. I take my time and take pleasure from the sewing. I've always got something new to wear. Stitch the crotch seam from the dot. I'm using a zipper foot for this, as there is a little bit of bulk on the right. Snip to the dot on the right side only. We are going to neaten the edge of the fly extension and the crotch seam from the bottom up. Zigzag or overlock. The seam allowances are neatened together here. Then we continue up the side of the fly extension. So that side of the fly extension is neatened. Turning to the right side, this gap is perfect. The zip is inset just enough. Press this edge and top stitch. Start from the bottom up. Top stitching. Use a top stitching needle or a jeans needle. Tuck the layer below out of the way. Start as far down this edge as you can. We are just stitching the front edge. I usually recommend regular thread in the bobbin and top stitching thread in the needle. This time I'm using strong thread in the bobbin and the needle, which seems to work better on this heavy duty denim. Experiment with threads, but always have both top and bottom tensions tight and lengthen the stitch. You can see I have opted for the red to match the colour in the selvage. See my video on top stitching, the link is below. Next we will mark in the top stitching line 1 3/4 inches, 4.4 centimetres from the centre front. Continue curving round well below the zip end to the dot. Top stitch following the guideline. Keep all the layers flat and aligned. You can make this a double or single row of top stitching. For a double row, turn, stitch up a couple of stitches. Turn again and return to the top. Use a stitch compensation tool to keep the foot level. Look for this in sewing supplies on my patterns page. For a single row, just meet up with the previous stitching. Now for the fly guard. Fold in half, wrong sides together. Neaten the lower edge. Place behind the zip with the fold to the right. Turn over. Pin these edges together. Zigzag or overlock, joining and neatening the raw edges together. That's now looking tidy. So from the front again, with everything in position, we will do a row of top stitching along here, stitching as far as we can. This secures the position of the fly guard behind the zip. Keeping everything flat and in position, top stitch through all layers close to the edge. We are using a zipper foot. Stitch as far as you can go. That is the fly zip completed. Finally, for this stage, with the seam allowance pressed towards the left front, double top stitch the crotch seam. Start from the seam and stitch towards the zip top stitching. Keep the fabric taut, as this is quite a tight curve. Meet up with the previous stitching. And then across and back to the inside leg seam. Then do some fancy bar tacks. This will secure the fly guard in place. Change to regular thread for this. Use a narrow zigzag and a short stitch length. Of course, you can decorate with bar tacks any way you like. Take a look at commercial brands. Be creative and invent your own trademark. Like me, you will probably need to trim up at the waistline. I'm very pleased with how this is looking. The zip is perfectly positioned, set back from the centre front. Next, we will work on the front pockets. Here are the pieces you will need. Thank you for watching this extended tutorial for sewing selvage jeans. See the links to all the episodes. If you haven't already done so, check out the pattern. You will find it at angelakane.com/sewing-jeans.